Please welcome to the stage, Jenna Witzleben.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Jenna Witzleben, and I am very excited to share with you my thesis, Finding the Wild, a Visceral Approach to Sustainability. Now, if you were someone who is interested in living more sustainably, what would you do? You'd probably start by going into Google, searching how to live a more eco-friendly life, maybe finding a link that looks like this, and doing one or two of the things. You'd buy a reusable water bottle, maybe try some organic shampoo. At most, you'd get a couple solar panels. But is this really enough to solve the environmental issues we are facing, including soil degradation, deforestation, habitat loss, species extinction, and loss of biodiversity? Many of my interviewees do not believe so. For example, agroecologist Jerry Glover encourages us to think beyond organic farming as the solution to our food systems, as organic agriculture still does not foster biodiverse habitat creation. But the broader problem with our current approach is that it maintains the idea that we humans are in control of what we call the natural resources, and that we must simply learn to be more efficient with them. In no way does it bridge the metabolic rift that drives our ignorance of the problems in the first place. In the book, The Once and Future World, J.B. McKinnon writes, "With nature out of focus, it becomes easier to overlook its decline. Then, as the richness and abundance of other species fade from land and sea, nature as a whole becomes less interesting, making it even less likely we will pay attention to it." This leads me to wondering, how can we possibly sustain sustainability without physically interacting with our natural environments? My research promotes, and I deeply believe, that true eco-friendliness requires visceral and emotional connection driven by physical proximity and interaction with our ecosystems. So there's a new school of thought in the world of environmentalism that is centered around this idea of reintegrating humans into our ecosystems and merges science and biology with emotion and spirituality. It's called rewilding. Rewilding has many definitions, but involves increasing biodiversity, building relationships of reciprocity, and drawing inspiration from hunter-gatherer and indigenous cultures to imagine new societal structures outside of civilization. Now, just to clarify, rewilding is not about survivalism and being like Bear Grylls. And this is because, as my interviewee Joe Whittle says, surviving implies that you are escaping from something. Rewilding, on the other hand, is about thriving and living more healthy and joyful lives as human animals. So I began to explore what it means to break down the barriers between humans and our environments. I engaged in experiential research such as going barefoot and training myself to be more resilient to the cold. And through these explorations, as well as interviewing scientists, rewilding experts, wilderness guides, and more, the scope of rewilding appeared to expand. Rewilding spans individual to global scales and touches on topics ranging from architecture to personal fitness. In order to generate the most impact, however, my interviewees recommended to focus on empowering individuals to engage in conspicuous behavior change and therefore act as hubs of rewilding. Today I'm going to share with you 4 projects that emerged from this goal. I'd like to start with bacteria and dirt. According to one of my subject matter experts, David Montgomery, shifting our perceptions around bacteria is at the center of transforming our relationships with plants and other species. Bacteria is how we are all connected. In order to revitalize this connection, I created Panacea. Panacea is a food cart that lives at the microbial intersection between humans and plants or soil. Each menu item has 2 parts, one for you, one for the environment. Further, the menu items are all focused around restoring health and biodiversity inside the human gut, human immune system, and the environment. For example, one of the menu items fosters eating together with the environment by pairing a diatomaceous earth cocktail for the human and a compost tea for the environment. So Panacea is about rewilding through acts of reciprocity and through embracing dirt and bacteria and how we eat and engage in public space. Once we start to shift these perceptions of bacteria and dirt, we can start to see the benefits of other behavior changes as well, like barefooting. Barefooting increases the biodiversity of the skin, making it more resilient against infection. Barefooting has other benefits, including the heightened attention to ground surfaces, which can build empathy for how we treat our environment. When I go barefoot outside, I notice every cigarette butt and every piece of dog poop left behind. But there are still many barriers to barefooting, including negative societal perception and fears of danger. So I wanted to leverage the ubiquity of mobile applications to transform societal perceptions of barefooting. Barely is a digital platform for barefooters. It has several features to explore, but today I'd like to share with you a journey through 3 of them. As new barefooters, you'd start with transition. Here, users are provided a series of activities to complete over the course of several days that levels them up from barefooting at home to their first walk to work. After improving confidence in barefooting, Barely users can begin to explore the different surface textures of their city through balance. In this feature, users set goals for the different types of surfaces they want to walk on. They can then receive custom navigation recommendations to help amend their balance towards their desired goals. And finally, once you're feeling super adventurous, the user will likely use the Scout feature. This is what provides all of the surface texture data to the app that feeds into Balance. Users are given a mission. They are then prompted to report back on the different textures they experience. I'm excited to be in partnership with Sue Kenny, the creator of Bare Bottoms shoes, to further the development of this app. So Barely allows us to rewild through a behavior that promotes empathy for the earth, again with the benefit that this behavior is actually healthier for us too. From Barely, I wanted to expand on this corporeal connection beyond barefooting. What else do we shield ourselves from that is critical to our health? Rain. We hide from the rain and constantly wish it away. But why? Just like bacteria, we need the rain, and so do the other species in our environments. The rain feeds the plants that in turn feed us, it supports marine habitats, and is otherwise a critical part of our ability to have filtered water wherever we go. Some cultures recognize this connection between rain, water, and life, and they thus celebrate it. So I wanted to explore how to celebrate the rain here. The Drench coat is a garment design that allows users to experience rain directly on their skin. So some key design features to note include the plastic mesh, which allows for the water transfer to the skin, and the flaps, which add to the celebratory aesthetic of the garment when blown in the wind. The selected materials are all breathable and quick to dry. Through a series of sketches and prototypes, I started to imagine the Drench coat to be part of a larger fashion line of garments called Weathered, which rewilds for the celebration of and increased resilience to weather events from snow to heat to humidity. All of these projects culminate in not only breaking down the barriers between humans and our surrounding ecosystems, but they also start to break down our very definitions and prescriptions of what nature and wildness are. We start to see that we don't have to leave the city to reconnect with the wild. We can rewild right here. This school of thought is further supported by people like Emma Maris, who says we should be more inclusive with our definitions of nature. And this mentality shift is critical because the beings that do live here need our help. Street trees become polluted, compacted, toxified, and so people like Vanessa Ventola from the Lower East Side Ecology Center are calling people to action. If the trees die, so do we. We can't survive without their air filtration. So I wanted to empower individuals to embrace the street trees, and I wanted it to feel urgent. These are living beings. Can we respond to their injuries and pains in a similar fashion to human emergencies? Can we rewild by becoming defenders of the urban forest? Introducing the Urban Citizen Forest Protection. This organization takes inspiration from street medics and EMS first responders to quickly respond to and aid street trees in need. From my experience, I created a new recruit training program that integrates performance and practical education. Here's a before and after of one of the trees we helped. It was effectively being used as an ashtray when we found it. I'm excited to announce that I will be partnering with the Lower East Side Ecology Center to do another Street Tree Care event on May 24th. You should all sign up. What I presented to you today are a series of first steps towards rewilding, but I would like to close on some of the larger scale goals. In the book, A Natural History for the Senses, Diane Ackerman writes, "We tend to see our distant past through a reverse telescope that compresses it. A short time as hunter-gatherers, a long time as civilized people. But civilization is a recent stage of human life, and for all we know, it may not be any great achievement. It may not even be the final stage." And so I encourage you all to embrace bacteria, dirt, rain, street trees, and to engage in reciprocity and protection, but to also begin thinking about this larger picture. It is time to start considering new social structures that allow us to deepen our connection with the environments and further move into our next chapter of not only sustainability, but thrivability. Thank you very much.
I think I saw 2 people wearing Drench coats earlier on 23rd Street. Perfect day.
Well, I know some of the first years are barefoot, too.
This is the perfect first presentation.
Thank you.
So you have a bonus track of
I do.
Can we go to the next
Marco?
slide? The making of the video.
Yes. So the week and a half that we had to shoot the 3D PD video, there was no rain. We couldn't shoot outside in the rain. And so we ended up having to create rain artificially indoors. And so I had lots of help from my wonderful fellow classmates, climbing up on ladders and having these camping showers. You can kind of see them. Yeah, camping shower. That was Michael Kenny's idea. And having Eileen and Shumung up on ladders controlling the rain, and a big fan.
As long as you had that throbbing soundtrack in the background, I think that completes the show business. So I have to ask you, so the week, I don't know how many months ago it was when you were barefoot. Mm-hmm. So what happened?
So I started going barefoot last summer as an exploration for my thesis, and I got 3 days before cutting my foot on a piece of glass. It was a tiny little piece of glass, but of course freaked out. Completely overreacted and bandaged my entire foot. It was fine. Our feet are pretty resilient. So as long as you just take out the piece of glass and bandage it, you're fine.
I remember freaking out on Instagram going, what happened? What did you possibly step in? And then the other thing I want to ask you about is this is such a great name, but you had a different name for this.
Yes, it was originally called Tempest Rain Suit, but then we were worried that rain suit implies protecting yourself from the rain still. So we wanted to create a new typology of garment.
And I wanted to ask you about that because we actually need to change the semantics, the words that we use to describe our relationship to, in this case, adverse weather, although I just used the word adverse, so that's not good. Welcoming weather. Yes. Like today.
Yes. Yes, so I encourage you to all go outside without your umbrellas after this.
At the break, with the video cameras. And then the last thing, you have a background in dance.
I do.
And so how did that play out through the year? Probably a few different times, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that dance I would say there's 2 main ways that dance interfaces with my design practices. One is that literally it's my biggest stress relief, and so anytime that I'm having a really rough week, I try and make sure that I go to dance class and get it all out. But I also think that there's this interesting aspect of dance having this visceral and emotional connection and being able to engage with a feeling through your body that really inspired some of my work as well. If I can physically connect with the environment, then maybe I'll also have an emotional connection to it too.
And literally grounded.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you.